Coming up on Future Now.
A smart building is essentially a building which is reactive and interactive.
This is Future Now, a podcast series where we take you on a journey and unravel the emerging trends shaping our world today. Discover the answers to what's next. What are the advances that truly matter? What are the key innovations? And how can they empower every person and organization in the future? Presented by Gulf News in association with Microsoft and hosted by Ihsan Anabtawi, COO and CMO of Microsoft UAE.
Welcome to a new episode of Future Now. My guest today is Nada Taryam. Nada is the Managing Director of Civil and Architectural Projects at Beeah, who is a leading UAE environmental management company based out of Sharjah. Nada's role at Beeah is to enhance the sustainability vision of Sharjah, and she has led some of the company's major sustainable smart building projects, such as the renowned headquarters building, which was designed by the famous and renowned architectural firm Zaha Hadid Architects. Nada is also the co-founder of Architecture and Other Things, which is a UAE-based design practice exploring alternative models of architectural design. Nada, pleasure to have you with us. Thank you for joining. And maybe my first question to you is just to tell us a bit more about Beeah as a company and also your role there.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here today with you guys. As you correctly mentioned, my role is to manage the civil and architecture projects in the company. Beeah is an environmental management company which is established in Sharjah, but it's quickly growing out of it and tackling other Emirates as well as other cities around the Middle East region, namely Saudi and Egypt. Beeah started off as a waste management company, but quickly realized that there are other environmental issues to be tackled. And so Beeah strives to provide a better quality of life for the people it serves. I manage some of the most strategic projects under the company. One of them is the headquarters building, which we recently inaugurated. And the building stands for the company's vision for the future of sustainability and digitalization, as well as providing a better quality, an enhanced quality for its employees performed within an office building, essentially.
Amazing. And I recall when a couple of years ago, I think it was 2019, when we announced our joint partnership, like Microsoft and Beeah. It was a groundbreaking, quite frankly, building at the time, right? It was, I think, fully powered by renewable energy, and it was Platinum LEED certified, which I think is the highest certification in green.
That's true. The Green Building Council, yes.
So that's fantastic. And what I loved about the partnership is you also push the boundaries of how to use technology in driving smart buildings and sustainability. So on our side, I remember you leveraged our cloud platform, our AI technology. So can you tell us more, in your opinion, what defines a smart building? Like if you want to really think of what is a smart building, especially in a country like the UAE where there's a lot of construction and architecture and buildings. What defines it for you?
A smart building is essentially a building which is reactive and interactive. So it's fitted with technologies and systems to basically give it life, in essence. So it could interact with its occupants and perform actions for them and provide them with a better experience within the building. It's similar to a smartphone, right? A smartphone does not just allow you to make phone calls, but it's like a camera, the modern day newspaper, it provides you with other features that was not possible in, before the smartphone. Similarly, a smart building does not provide you just with, shelter. It's not just a dwelling. It also provides you with features that you essentially didn't think you needed. And it's about time that the buildings caught up with the technology. So today, we're all tied up with our technology, whether it's a phone, laptop, or a tablet. And the buildings nowadays should sort of speak the same language. And so it's essentially fitting buildings with systems and technologies to be able to speak to its inhabitants and provide them with the best and most enhanced experience. It's really twofold. As I mentioned, it's to enhance the experience of whomever is living within that building, but also to provide a more sustainable aspect to it. Nowadays, we all realize that the construction industry is one of the biggest contributors to the climate crisis. So in a way, having smart buildings also enhances the performance of buildings to help them operate more efficiently, and that in a way offsets, it's one of the ways that could offset the negative impact on our climate.
Thank you, Nada. And I just want to double click maybe on the sustainability aspect of it, which is, as we all know, a critical societal challenge, right, for all of us. I love also what the country is doing around sustainability, as we all know, and I think you at Beeah have been playing a leading role. When I think of technology's role in sustainability, I think some of the work that you've done, which is leveraging, Internet of Things, AI, even some emerging tech like Azure Digital Twin, which allows you to have a digital representation of your physical space and have telemetry and reasoning over it. What, in your view, is the role of technology to help us drive sustainability at a larger scale?
I mean, when we started looking at this, and I'm talking specifically for the building, we looked at sustainability and technology, separately, and that's because the twin pillars on which the company Beeah, builds is on sustainability and digitalization, and it rolls out through the whole company's DNA, and the headquarters was no different to that. But we quickly realized that you can actually facilitate and enhance sustainability through technology and accelerate that by using technology. So yes, it is a LEED Platinum building, and yes, we had to undergo, various sustainable measures, but we also added on to that using technology and using, partners like Microsoft, working along Johnson Controls, managed by our digital arm, Evotech, to bring in all of these latest technologies to drive that and push it forward. Because we realize that the modern economy, relies on technology and sustainability, and there is a big drive towards for both to enhance each other. So we took, the technologies to do with building management systems, to do with the workplace and the type of office of the future, that's what we call it, and take ideas to push that agenda forward. Things that, for instance, yes, we did use renewable energy, but also we thought, wait a minute, we're using solar, we're utilizing solar power, but then we can also add power packs to, store the excess of power. And so we integrated, technology into enhancing what we thought we were fulfilling in terms of sustainability. Also, this idea of enhancing the workplace of, yes, you are, you are providing your employees with these tools, but then how can you provide them with additional tools? So let's say the meeting room experience, providing, how can we enhance it? And that idea we got from you guys, from Microsoft. So, transcribing meeting notes, sending meeting notes to participants, predicting, how the atmosphere within the meeting room, lighting levels, comfort levels in terms of air conditioning and so on, ordering beverages, things like that are repetitive, but also it enhances, the user's experience in terms of eliminating, repetitive work, but rather than focusing on, other essential stuff.
That's great. And I really like the holistic approach of not only looking at what the building is doing in terms of, the building being a green building or a smart building, which I think is great, and I love the work there. It's an architectural marvel, really. But also, what's the employee experience coming into that building? Because the last thing you want is for the building to be state of the art, and then you walk in as an employee, and your experience is a mismatch, right? So that's really great. Maybe to touch on that a little more, I know you specifically leveraged AI for some of those employee experience work that you mentioned. I read that you did something around digital personas. How did AI play a role in this work?
So AI basically is there there's a smart aspect which helps the building, as I mentioned, recognize, let's say, through facial recognition, recognize its employees or the visitors if you're a frequent visitor, and then, recognize that profile. But then the AI level adds to it to learn from the patterns of that employee, and then in the future give suggestions, let's say. Or so in the future, you don't have to sort of do the same repetitive tasks. The building learned from that pattern, but then also provide you with suggestions and things to enhance your experience, essentially. So we do also have the digital twin, which is a digital representation of the building, which aids a lot within, the maintenance of the building. So it can predict maintenance patterns. It can digitally show you if there is a problem within the building, and then you don't need to actually physically go there, but you can digitally fix it on that platform.
That's great, and I think hearing you describe it, I just remember how groundbreaking this was at the time, because I think it was one of the first uses of that digital twin platform in the region. And as you rightfully said, I think the ability to digitize a representation of a physical space and then use AI to have up-to-date, accurate telemetry, reasoning on that information, and then actioning it using technology is just super powerful. So that's great that you took that state-of-the-art tech and applied it in real life. My next question is around the role of companies around sustainability. And one topic we often hear about, Nada, is transparency. Right? What do you think is the role and connection of transparency with sustainability?
I think it's very important to be transparent about, the actions that you're taking towards sustainability goals. I don't think one, entity could solve the climate crisis. That's why we need to be transparent about what we're doing, because it does require collective action. And I think it's also an educational tool, it provides learnings for people and also opens it up for debate, not in a negative sense or, just for the idea of criticizing, but no, just for learning how to do better, how to adjust, how to just perform better from different professionals and from people who are wholly embedded within this field. So, and that's what we tried to do with the headquarters. So it is, yes, an iconic landmark designed by Zaha Hadid architects, but it's also a sustainable building, which is sort of unusual because there's this preconception that, I don't like to use the word green buildings, but like environmentally conscious buildings need to look like a certain style or need to look in a certain way. But through that, we're trying to encourage people to think otherwise, that any building can actually be sustainable. And there are small gestures as well as like big, using renewable energy and all of that. But also there are small gestures that could help you with, building a more sustainable building. And that's what we try to do as well. So even for visitors visiting the building, to talk about what we did in terms of sustainability and how did we achieve LEED Platinum, but how did we also go further than that. And we hope that would inspire people to make changes within their organizations, within their communities. And I think, it's for us. We're happy to share our findings. We're happy to share what we do, but we're also happy to receive, advice on how to perform better. Great,
and I think for me, it's you sort of answered my next question, which is maybe some of the listeners may think, this was of course, a sizable undertaking, right? It's a purpose-built project from the ground up with sustainability in mind. But I love what you said around the fact that any building can be turned into an environmentally conscious building by taking some small steps, which I think in a country like the UAE, where there's a significant amount of buildings, that can have collectively a really tangible effort, which is great. So any last thoughts, Nada, for the audience, for the listeners, on what steps can they take, maybe sharing some of your experience?
I think, it's not an impossible task to think more environmentally conscious, or to be more environmentally conscious. I think it does take, a lot of work, but it's also, it betters our future. And, we're quickly realizing that, being environmentally conscious is not an option anymore. It's affecting all of us. Summer is now 3-4 months, which is unusual.
Indeed.
So I believe that, no matter how small your action, like eliminating use of single-use plastics or things like that, could have a bigger impact. And we're seeing it now, rolling all over the UAE. So, in some Emirates, they've cut on using plastic bags, let's say. And that would encourage a whole generation to actually think wisely about their consumption. And, yes, we throw words like smart buildings and all of that, but these are not, big, unreachable ideas. You in your office could be more sustainable by turning off the lights when not needed, by not using by conserving water, by not using as much water, and by talking to it about the younger generation as well, because believe it or not, like the younger generation, and we see that through our education arm in Beeah, are more susceptible to these ideas and come up with even more creative ideas to reuse and recycle. And so I think it needs to be a way of living, sort of, and just, keep it at the back of your head whenever you buy a new thing, or, throw away plastics, or discard, or, use additional energy or water. So I think it's just, and I'm not saying, I'm perfect or be as perfect, but we try our best to drive that agenda for a better quality of life for the future generations as well.
That's really great, and thank you for that. And I just want to thank you and Beeah for the leading work on this that I think will impact all of us. We have one planet at the end, and I think, as you said, sometimes we think of it's somebody else's problem or somebody else will take those steps. But as you said, I think it's a combination of individual steps, but also steps that companies and corporations can take. For us at Microsoft, we're super aligned with what you're doing. We announced as a company that we're already carbon neutral for a few years, but we will also take that further and be carbon negative by 2030, water positive by 2030. So I think we're also committed globally. So thank you for that. Well, Nada, I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I definitely look forward to hosting you on a future episode of Future Now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
To keep up to date with our latest episodes in the series, follow Future Now, a podcast series by Gulf News in association with Microsoft. Visit gulfnews.com/future-now for more. Next week on Future Now.
Miguel Villalonga, Cloud and Data Center Solutions at E&, formerly known as Etisalat.
Companies and entities have to become agile, have to let go of old practices, have to have ability to adapt and change and become more flexible. And that is a cultural change as well.